Hello wonderful people, it's Wild here. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to build this magical fantasy medieval house. This whimsical build features an intricate roof line which provides plenty of interest, as well as a gradient design up there on the roof. It also has stained glass windows and lots of medieval flair. This build has 3 floors worth of space for decorating, making it an epic survival base or a great addition to your medieval fantasy world. And this build is fully customizable, so you could swap out the color gradient for one that matches your aesthetic. The materials you'll need for this build are on your screen now. Keep in mind that it's useful to have a few extra of each supply on hand, especially in the cyan wool, the warped wart blocks, and the warped planks, as we'll need these for texturizing the roof. Here is the outline for today's build. You can see that we've got a 3x3 grid of post locations marked in with 2 off to the right hand side there, and there are a 3 block gap between each of these posts. We're going to start our build using some stripped dark oak logs, and I'm building up 2 high on each of our post locations. Now of course, if you're building this over water like I have in my finished build, you'll need to extend these posts down to reach the height of the riverbed, but you want to make sure that they're sitting 2 above the water. I'm then going to go ahead and connect all of these up, so I'm going around the outside first, almost all the way around. There we are. And then I'm going to connect up the interior as well. This is going to make a whole load of 3x3 squares. Like that. I'm then going to fill each of these squares in with some dark oak slabs. Then I'm going to take a few more stripped dark oak logs, and these are going to come out from the joins in each of these posts. I'll take some dark oak fence gates next, and I'm placing these underneath the edge. And then I'm going to come to this section here, so where we have the 3 panels and at the back, and we're going to add in our staircase. So I'm going to line myself up with the center of here and count 3 blocks across. 1, 2, 3. On that 3rd block, I'm going to add in a stair. Then I'm going to have an upside down dark oak stair, a right way up one, and then one more upside down, and that should connect you up to this beam. I'm going to add some dark oak slabs to either side, and then I'll continue these slabs all the way around the build. I'm going to take some warped trapdoors next, and I'll place these on either side of the stairs. For some more details, we're going to add a spruce button to each of these beams and a dark oak fence below. Now if you're building this over water and your posts extend into the water like this, you're just going to add in the 1 dark oak fence like that and not extend them all the way into the water, so just 1 with our button. Now I need to start working on the walls of the first story. I'm going to begin with some spruce logs, building up 6 high around the outline of this square here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm building up in the posts that we've got 3 blocks apart. Then in these 2 locations, I'll just build up 5 high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's connect these up around the edges. I'm also going to join up over here. Now along this back wall as well as the front wall, I'm going to take some spruce logs and I'll place one on every other block like this. Then down the center of here, I'm going to have a beam going all the way across. And then I'll count one block in and add one here, one block in and add one here, and over this side as well. So it'll look like this from above. I'm also going to have a few more logs coming out to the side, one here, and then over on this section of the build, coming out from here and here. Next, we're going to add in the walls for the second story. So I'm going to come to this location and build up 4 high, 1, 2, 3, 4, as well as over here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we step back, you can see that we've got our little section kind of off-centered over the center of this post. I'm going to add another 4 going up here, and on the other side as well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to have another post coming in 1 block. So it should look like this. And we're going to go ahead and connect all of these up with some beams. I'm also going to go ahead and add in some on the interior. So we've got one going across here, and then across here and here. So if we step back, it should look like this. Let's add a few logs coming out now. We've got one here and one here. Around on this side. Then as we get to the back, we're just going to have them above this center panel, just there. And then off to this side as well. One there and one there. Let's have a look from above. And again from the front. It is worth noting that these panels are going to be 3 by 3. These ones down here are going to be 3 by 5. And then over on this section, they are going to be 4 by 3. Next, we're going to mark in our doors and windows, and I'm going to be doing this using a temporary block of purple wool, although you can use whatever you like. Of course, we've got a doorway here in front of our staircase, and that's just 2 blocks high. Then I'm going to come to this side, and leaving a 1 block gap below, we'll add in a 2 high window. Now the reason I'm marking in these windows and not going straight in with glass is so that I can go in later and create a stained glass effect. It just allows for a little bit more creative freedom if you're not trying to randomize the colors as you build. So you can see that I'm adding one of these 2 high windows in each of the panels, but I'm leaving out this one here. I will have one on this side though, as well as one here and one here. So that's the bottom story done. Coming up to the next story, I'm going to start in this 3 by 3 panel on the back of the build. I'm going to build across the center and then one up to create this sort of upside down T shape. Coming around to the side above the doorway, I'm going to create the same shape here in this 3 by 3 panel. And then around to the front of the build in this section, we're going to add one more of these windows. I'm also going to use some temporary blocks to fill in this square here, as well as the one on the other side. That way I remember not to go ahead and fill this in with my wall material later. Let's mark in some gable windows next. These are going to be 1 block above the center of this wall here. We're going to leave this one, but I'm going to add one above the center of this wall here. Just like that. We have one around here. And then finally we have one on the back. And you can check that it's centered as it should be above this window. Now that all of that is marked in, let's start filling in the walls. I'm going to start at the base of the build with some stone bricks, and I'm just placing a 1 high layer all the way around. And of course on the other side of the door. Now for each of the wall panels, we're going to use a mixture of white material. So we've got some calcite here, some birch wood, we've got some white concrete powder, and then we've got some white wool. And I'm going to fill in each panel with a randomized selection of these 3, or rather these 4 materials. Now if you're building in creative or have ample supplies, you might find it easier to fill in the panel with all of one like this, and then break and add in the other supplies to add texture. It's just about finding a system that works for you. There we go. On to the next one. And I'll just follow this process all throughout the build until I'm finished and happy with the look. And don't be afraid of taking a step back and changing your mind about things to swap things out. I am just filling in the very last wall panel now, and you can see that as well as doing all of the lower story panels, I've gone ahead and filled in the upper story ones. Let's take a step back. I think I might change this up just a little bit. Alright, I'm happy with that now. So you can see that we've got all of our walls filled in all the way around the build with lots of texture, but there's still a few floating blocks, and those are where we're going to have our gables. Before we add those in, I'm just going to add 2 blocks to either side of this section. Like that. And I'm adding these in to fill in the gap where our roof is going to go. Now for these gables, we're going to work around each window. We're going to build 3 across the base, then 1 up to either side, and then 2 above. 1, 2. Like this. And I'll make the texture on each one just a bit different. I'm also going to be adding in a gable along here, so I'm going to be following the same shape, but of course I need to fill in where that window would be. And I'm going to come down here and add in a little gable below this window. There we are, we've got all of our walls in. Next, we're going to take a few more spruce logs and we're going to build 3 out from the point of each gable. We're going to be hanging some lanterns off these later. And don't forget this one down here. I'm next going to come inside the build and I'll start by lighting it up just a little bit. I'm going to add a ladder going all the way up the height of this wall. Right up to the top. Then I'm going to take some slabs and start filling in this floor. You can see that by placing them at the top layer of this block, we're creating the effect of some beams underneath here. Now I'm not going to fill in this section as we'll have a nice high gable roof here. Now let's head up our ladder. And this is going to take us up to the 2nd story. Now we can actually continue up this ladder into what will be the attic space. So what we're going to do is fill in this section of the floor as well. Including in here. And don't forget to place in a couple torches up here for when we put on the roof, as well as some torches in this space. While we're down here, I can go ahead and break all of these temporary blocks, filling in this 3x3 square on either side. The roof line is going to come up and this will act as part of the room on either side. We're about to start working on this roof, but before we do this, let's have a look at the texture. So you can see that I've got pretty distinct layers here of my 3 roofing materials. We've got cyan at the bottom, then we've got the slightly darker warped block, and then the warped planks at the top. We're going to begin our roof by placing in defined layers like this, and then to create a smoother gradient, we'll go back in with the same blocks and just mix up the texture a little bit like this. So we've blended these 2 layers a bit now, then we'll do the same thing for this layer. Let's mix in a bit over here and bring a few more of our blocks up. And you can see that has a smoother gradient as well. So let's go ahead and work on this on the roof, following that pattern of creating the defined layers first and then blending afterwards. I'm going to begin by working on this largest gable first. Starting with cyan wool, I'm going to build 5 across here, just extending 1 out from the wall. And I'm going to do 2 layers of the cyan wool. Then we'll switch to the warped block. And I'm going to do 3 layers of this. You can see that I'm just following the shape created by the gable. Like that. The rest we're going to do in warped planks, and we're just going to build 5 back here. We're going to be jumping a bit between the roofs as we have all sorts of gables meeting up with each other here. And the very top. Like that. Next, let's join on this smaller section of roof. Starting again with the cyan wool at the bottom, just 1 layer this time. And we've got our warped wart blocks building up 2 high. And let's do this on the other side. Building 5 across again. Then we've got our warped planks. And finishing off with warped planks at the top. And you can see that I've gone underneath this larger gable for this section and we've joined that up. Now we've got this section of the roof at the top, so let's work on the wall that's joining up to this roof here. I'm going to start with cyan again, building just 1 layer this time. Then we'll switch to the warped wart blocks. You can see how in this join we're definitely going to need to do this texturizing to make the gradient look smooth. Then we'll switch to the warped planks. And here I'm going to need to wrap these around to connect it all up. And we've got our final layer at the top. Now onto this back side, we're going to do the same thing, but we have this small gable to watch out for. So let's start with the cyan wool. Then we've got a layer of the warped blocks. And because we're extending just 1 past the wall, I don't need to extend this here, but I'll come out 1 block here. Next we've got our warped planks. And finishing at the top. Let's take a step back and have a look at what we've got so far. So that's the shape of the roof, but we don't have our nice smooth gradient. So let's go ahead and have a look at how we're going to do this. So let's start adding in a few blocks here and there, raising some up and bringing some down. And remember, you can always take a step back, check that you like how it's coming along and make some changes. I also like to have a look at the roof from the end to check that there is a smooth gradient on the end of the roof too. And I think I might just put that block back. Let's see about moving this one over. Maybe like this. And let's add one in here. I think that looks pretty good. And from the end, that looks nicer now. We're going to do this all over the roof. So let's get working. If you're enjoying today's video and would like to access some additional benefits like world downloads for this and all my other builds, as well as access to a multi-world server, check out my Patreon. I'd love to have your support and have you join my community. Now I've spent a bit of time going back and forth checking I like this gradient and I think it looks wonderful. Now keep in mind that your gradient doesn't need to be exactly the same as mine. You just want to have a relatively smooth transition between the darker colour at the top and the lighter colour at the bottom. Now I've got some dark oak planks as well as stairs, slabs and trapdoors, and we're going to create a bit of edging around this roof. This is really going to finish off the look. Let's start on this largest roof first with some stairs. I'm placing upside down stairs at the bottom at each of these joins. Then I'll place upright stairs on top of these. At the top of here, I'm going to place in 2 dark oak planks with a stair on top, so it swoops inwards like that. Then at the bottom, I'm going to start with a dark oak plank, and then I'll alternate between that and dark oak trapdoors until I reach the join. And again over this side, we'll do the same thing, except this time we're going to finish when we reach the end of the roof. Then we're going to do the same process on all the other gables. Starting with the upside down stairs, then the right way upstairs. We're going to have 2 planks at the top with the stair, and then we'll go in with our dark oak slab and trapdoors. Now when we come to this gable, we're going to need to join in our edging, so let's add in our stairs next. We've got our planks at the top and our stair, and you can see that that's connected up, and we'll continue over this way. On to the next gable. So that's looking pretty good. We still have to do down here. I'm going to come right underneath this roof with my trapdoor here. And I'll finish again here with a trapdoor. I'm going to take a few more dark oak trapdoors now, and I'm just placing these at the bottom section of each of the gables. And there we are. Now along the tops of each roof, we're going to alternate between a trapdoor and a slab, starting with a trapdoor beside the stair. You should end up with a trapdoor next to each of the stairs like this. There we go, all of our roof edging is complete. We're almost up to adding in details, but I'm going to start by adding in the glass first. So we're going to be creating stained glass windows with a mixture of light blue, cyan, blue stained glass, as well as some purple and then magenta. And I'm just going to be mixing these into each of the spaces. I'm going to try and aim for an even distribution of the colour. So you can see that since I have a cyan down here, which is in the blue shade, I'm going to move the blue up to the top of this window and place a purple down here. So there's the first wall, and I'm going to go ahead and do this all the way around. I've got all of my glass in, and next I'm going to remove these temporary blocks for the door and add in a warped door instead. Now I'm going to take some grindstones. I'm going to be placing these all the way around the base of the bill, and these are in line with each of the posts. I'm placing them so that from the side they look like this. So you can see that instead of placing them from the side of the post, I'm placing them by looking at the post. I'm also going to do this at the top of the build. So while it may be tempting to place one in here, we just want them in front of the posts. So I've got 2 on this side. Now on the top section of the build where we've got this 3 high gap, I'm just going to add in a single dark oak fence with a stone brick wall above here. Then down here on this section of the build, where we have got the 4-block gap, we're going to have a stone brick wall at the top and the bottom. And then 2 fences in between. Finally, on this section of the build where we have a 3-block gap, I'm going to add in 2 fences and then a stone brick wall at the top. Next, I'm going to go in with some dark oak slabs. I'm going to be having these across each of the gaps like this. So we're going to have 1 in between each of these spruce logs along here, and then 3 across the top. 3 over here, and 3 up here. In each of these gaps, and 3 along here. Onto the windows themselves now. Let's start on all of these 2 high windows. For these, we're going to begin by placing a stripped warp stem facing outwards like this. Then we're going to have some spruce stairs coming up here like that. I'm going to place another stack of these upside down and then right way upstairs. And then in between them, we've got a stripped spruce log. And I'm facing it so that you can just see the side texture here. I'm going to be placing a spruce sign in front of this log at the base, as well as a warped trapdoor at the top. Then to finish off the decoration, we'll have 2 chains in the center. So let's create this on the other windows, starting again with our log and our spruce stairs. Then we've got our spruce log, got some chains, a spruce sign, and a warped trapdoor. And so I'm going to create this same decoration all the way around the build. I'm just finishing off these window decorations now, and I'm adding in my last few chains. Let's take a step back. You can see that we should have all of the lower story windows decorated now. Let's move up and work on these shaped windows at the top. We're going to start with a stripped spruce, or rather stripped warp stem coming out from here, with spruce stairs on either side, and we're actually creating a circular shape here. So we've got 2 more stairs coming up like this, placed upside down, then 2 more on top of that, facing in towards each other, and then we're going to have a slab. This is going to complete our archway, and we're going to be adding in a spruce fence gate in here just for a kind of intricate LED light design. We're going to have a spruce sign down the bottom, and I'm going to create this same design on the other windows shaped the same way. One thing you'll notice is that I'm able to just place in my sign without text. And to do this in Creative, what you're going to do is you'll place down your sign. Once you've got one without text, you can hold Control on the PC and then your middle mouse button, or that's your scroll wheel, to select it, and that's going to select the sign without any text, and that can make it a little bit quicker when you're building. Alright, so we've got those windows complete. Now onto these tiny windows in the gables. For this, we're just going to create a frame out of some spruce trapdoors, one at the top and the bottom with the chain in the center, and then we're going to have 2 trapdoors to either side. Just like this. So let's go ahead and add these to all of our little windows. I've got all of those in. Let's add the decoration to the door next. I'm going to start by placing an amethyst cluster. We've got a large amethyst bud on this side, and let's have a small amethyst bud on the other side, on each side of the door like that. Then we're going to have spruce stairs placing forward. Then we're going to create an arch, and we're going to use a stripped spruce log across the top, as well as a warped trapdoor. So it'll look like this. Now I've got a collection of amethyst clusters, large amethyst buds, medium amethyst buds, and small amethyst buds here. And I'm going to go around and place one on top of the door as well as each of these windows. I'm going to use a mixture of these, and I'm going to try and go for a random look, but I'm making it purposeful. I'm also going to be placing them on either side of this window. And on either side of this gable as well. let's take a step back. I think that looks good. On to the next section. Now, of course, I can't place one up here, so I'll leave that window out. And I can't place one on this window either, but I can place one to either side of here. Like this. Around to the back, we're going to leave out this window and I'll place one on top of here and here. I think that looks good, and we need 2 more up the top. There we are. And we need to add 2 up here. Now before we add in the chimneys, I'm going to go in with some lighting. So let's hang some chains down with some solar lanterns. I'm going to be hanging these at various heights around the build. Let's hang this one down too. And I'm going to have a lantern here and a lantern here as well. I think I'll just hang this one down 1. And then I'm going to hang 1 down by a 1 chain length and 1 down by no chain length. And I think I'm going to do it that way. Onto the chimneys, and for these we'll need stone brick stairs, a campfire, and some dark oak trapdoors. Let's start on these 2 small gables. So looking at it from the side like this, the first chimney is going on the front side. So I'm going to find this layer and count in 1 block. So that'll take me to here. I'm going to place an upside down stair here and then a right way up stair here. I'm going to add a stone brick on top and then 2 stairs facing out like that. Then I'll build up 2 high with stone bricks, and this is going to be my first chimney spot. I'll surround the trapdoor with some surround the campfire with some dark oak trapdoors. There we are. For the next one, I'm going to the back side of this taller gable. Again, I'm going to count 1 in on this second layer up and do the same thing. Stair, stair, and we're going to have a block, 2 stairs, and 2 blocks. Let's finish with our campfire and some trapdoors. Our next chimney is a little bit larger, so I'm going to come to the front of the build. I'm going to count 2 layers down, 1, 2, so that'll bring me to this 3rd layer here. I'll count 2 blocks in, 1, 2, so that'll take me to this block. I'm going to add in a stair and an upright stair here. We're starting off the same way with a block and then 2 more stairs. And again, I'm going to build up 2 high. This time, I'm going to add in some extra stairs though. So we've got 1 coming forward like this and another one upside down. And we'll finish off with 2 more stone bricks and our campfire and trapdoors. Now remember, if your chimneys aren't exactly the same as mine, that's totally okay. We're just going for that whimsical look with the winding chimneys. Alrighty, I've added in all of the finishing touches, so let's check it out. The first thing I did was to add some greenery. You can see that I've just used a pop here and there, draping off the roof, and I've gone with these azalea leaves as they have a nice bright colour which stands out against the darker hue of the roof. You can see that I also placed a few little bushes around the base of the build, draping off into the water, and around on this side as well. And I've used these same bushes to frame the build, so I've got some behind here on the mountainside, as well as over here on the side of the mountainside. Now my location happens to be along a curved river like this, but the great thing about this build is that by adjusting the height of these posts, you can place it practically anywhere. And you can see that if I dip below the water here, some of my posts are a bit longer to reach down to the ground. While I'm underwater here, you can also see that I've gone ahead and added in some extra seagrass, as well as these sea pickles which illuminates down here, and I've got some kelp growing, and this helps to balance the lushness from up above with some lushness down here under the water. As for decorations, you can see that I've gone ahead and built a little ship off to one side. I've got a small dock, and for all of these decorations I'm using supplies that are found in the build. Then for some gardening, I've gone with this simple look with lots of greenery and bushes. I've placed in a little campfire area here as well as a swing set, and I've created this natural looking path with a mixture of gravel and dead sea coral blocks. So we've got a little bit of extra texture in here. I've also framed this pathway with some flowers that match the colours in the build. So I've got these magical looking pitcher plant flowers, and this really ties in with the whimsical theme, as well as these allium flowers. And you could always think about customizing the gradient here. I've gone with this cyan color, but you could easily swap it out for any other hue where you've got a light, a medium, and a darker shade. And if you do create a custom version of this build, make sure you join my Discord and share some pictures. I would love to see it. So now you have a show-stopping fantasy medieval house for your world. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd really appreciate it if you consider liking and subscribing, and check out my Patreon to support me further. I'll see you in another video.